Hi, my name's Calvin and today we're going to be looking at the Riftbreaker. I picked this up when it was released a good few years ago now, back in 2021. After playing the prologue, I really enjoyed the game, but when it released I just never had the time to actually get into it. It's basically a base builder, wave defense survival type game. And since it was released, the devs have released quite a few DLCs for it, including new biomes and enemies, but recently they released version 2.0. 2.0 is a big one, guys. They've added 4-player co-op, so you can play with your friends, but sadly only 4 friends. If you have more, you're just out of luck. They've expanded the endgame quite a bit. They've added a new story arc, and they've added some new mega structures that take a hell of a lot of resources to build and maintain. They've added brand new boss type creatures they called Omega Strain. There's a randomized mission generator, exploration missions. There's a full loot system rework. Oh well, I don't think there was a loot system to start with. You just had to craft stuff. But now there's a loot system. There's a massive balance across the entire game. They've reworked nearly all the systems in the game as well. So yeah, it's a hell of a big update. Obviously, I think the biggest addition to the game was definitely the 4-player co-op. It's a shame it's only 4-player. I tend to play with probably 5 or 6 people most weekends in different games, so this kind of rules it out for us unless it's a quiet weekend. It's a bit of a shame, but it is what it is, I guess. They can only balance the game to a certain amount of players, I suppose. Maybe we'll see more in the future, you never know. But yeah, I say let's take a look at this game and see what it's like starting out as a new player. So yeah, as I mentioned, obviously there's a few different player modes here. You've got single player, you've got multiplayer now. You've got all the DLCs. You can even got mod support with this. I've not really looked into it too much. But there's a few options when you're starting a game. You can go into survival. You can do the prologue, which is kind of like a tutorial. Although the single player campaign also starts you off with a basic tutorial as well. You get to choose the campaign name and the difficulty you want. There's even a customized difficulty mode as well as a hardcore mode. So, I think any kind of level of player should be able to get into this and find a setting that's good for them. Just start off with a little intro video, but I'll skip this and leave you guys see that when you play this for the first time. And we just get directly into the game. Basically, you get transported to this planet and you need to kind of establish a base, start getting resources, and then, you got to, I think the objective is basically to start with, you've got to build communications back to Earth so you can start transporting information back to Earth, which takes a while to get to. But you'll get a little introduction here as well. The guy will be talking to you, gives you instructions of what you kind of need to do to start out with. But we'll skip past that now to where we just get into the building section. Now, like any other basic building game, it's all based around resources. In the starting area, you have 2 that you have to worry about, which is carbonium and uranium. And you kind of have to start off and manually mine this. You can just go up and hold space until you've got enough to build a base. And you can do that at any time, even when you have the mining structures down. You can mine anything yourself and collect resources yourself. It's fine. There are other resources on the planet, but that involves you being able to transport to other parts of the planet, which comes a bit later on. But there's cobalt, there's sludge, there's gas, there's hezonite as well. And you'll need all those eventually to craft all the buildings and weapons and everything else you need to be able to finish the game. Building's quite easy to get into in this game. It's made on a grid-based system, as you can see here, so planning stuff out is quite easy. Everything requires power, and when you build buildings, it'll kind of link to a close building for the power, as you can see there. But you can actually expand the power kind of area out using power nodes that allow you to expand the area of the power. And you also obviously need to build power producing buildings like solar plants, wind farms, and so on. We'll see all that in a bit. But yeah, you basically got to kind of build your base up, start mining resources, producing power, start researching new technology, and all while you're doing this, you're kind of defending against waves of enemies, as well exploring the map around you, because there's a lot of objects you can uncover to get new technology, new weapons, and so on. And that's part of the new loot system. But every time you kind of build new bits to your base, you kind of alert the enemies to where you are, and it'll kind of kick off bigger waves every time. So, you know, the waves are going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. It's going to get harder and harder to defend against. Yeah, and as you can see here now, I'm going to be placing some power buildings down. And this is obviously one of the other resources that you need to keep on top of, which is the power. And other than power, you've got defenses as well. And basically, it's important to have defenses in this game, because otherwise your buildings will get overrun by the enemy pretty fast. You can build defensive towers, but they use up, basically I think they call it AI CPU usage or something along those lines, up in the top right corner, right at the top. So you can only build a certain amount of turrets, and you have to build other AI CPU buildings to kind of support more turrets as you go along. And of course that uses more power, uses more resources. So it's an endless kind of struggle building your base up, making sure you have enough resources and power to defend your base. Skipped ahead a bit here to where the kind of first wave is going to start. As you can see at the top left hand corner, you've got a countdown, and basically we're going to be getting attacked by the first wave. Now don't be expecting too much for the first wave. It's just kind of like a little intro to the game and what happens. So pretty straightforward. So I built up some turrets, I built up some fences to defend my base, so we should be good. And as you can see here, you know, my turrets are doing a pretty good job at defending the fence here. But it was a very small wave, and as you can imagine, if it was anything bigger than that, my turrets probably would have got overwhelmed, and you have to get involved in defending the base properly. We'll jump again now to a bit later into the game. I'll show you some of the kind of the menu systems in the game, the research modules and so on. And then a slightly bigger wave of enemies and some other areas of the map as well. Yeah, let's just go over the menu system here. Basically, you got, you know, this is your crafting menu where you can craft different items. You know, the more items you research, the more I'll show here as you go along. You get guns, you get melee weapons. The spear is one of the ones I unlocked first of all, seems to do kind of cold damage. You get movement skills, you get other types of skills, armor upgrades for your mech as well. Then we have the research module, researching from base parts to power supplies. You know, it's basically new buildings, new ways to expand your base. All these research things do cost basic resources. And then you have weapons and equipment for your mech as well that you can research and unlock. And as you can see, these also take resources, and some of the resources aren't available in the starter area. So you have to kind of progress through the game to be able to actually get access to them. This is also another good spot to see what resources you got. As you can see at the top, it lists all the different types of resources in the game. And then here you got upgrades. So this is where you can basically, anything you craft or manufacture or loot, you can equip onto your mech here. Or remove, it's up to you. You get upgrades, you get weapons, appearance, movement skills, and so on. So yeah, any gear you make or loot, you can equip to your mech here. Then you have the planet section. Here is basically when you get later into the game, you can actually set up different bases around the planet to get access to the different resources. And then I guess later on different planets as well. But yeah, you can basically go to different areas of the planet and mine the other resources that you need that you don't have in the original starting area. It also shows the kind of threat level of the different areas that you can go to as well. But you only access that once you get to a certain point in the game. And then of course you just got your stats, you know, with the kind of, you know, damage the monsters can do, the damage you've done to monsters, what you've killed, and so on, as you would expect. So we jumped ahead a bit again. I've obviously built up my base quite a bit here. You know, I've started getting further into the game. I got lots of different power supplies and lots of different areas that I fenced off to kind of have a kind of staged defense system. And a lot of different turrets defending each of the sections as well. I just want to note the performance of this game as well. It can be very inconsistent at times. Sometimes it can be perfectly fine. Other times I was getting a bit of hitching in the game where it was kind of losing FPS. But majority of the time it worked pretty well. And as you can see, I got a different weapon here, which is called the chainsaw, which is just a big fuck off chainsaw. Anyway, I just wanted to show here, because we're about to get attacked by a kind of slightly bigger swarm from two areas as well. So I just wanted to show you guys what it's like fighting like slightly bigger creatures, and what it's like defending from multiple angles as well. Because you've got to keep an eye on everything. You see, I'm getting attacked from the north here as well, so I kind of run up here because they're getting through my turret defense systems there and doing a bit of damage. So I've had to jump in and defend this area myself and left the bottom area to the turrets. I wasn't really paying attention. Yeah, I was going to go back down south a bit to check if that was okay, but I didn't realise I was still actually getting attacked from the north, so I quickly jumped back up here and just finished the last few off. And yeah, basically this gets harder as you get along, so you can imagine that you've got to build up good defences. You build better turrets as you get further into it as well, so it's not just those turrets, but yeah, it can get quite hard, and you've got to make sure you have good defensive systems set up for the game. Otherwise your base will get overrun and it'll just be up to you to try and defend it. But you can also go explore the map like I am now, where you can go and find different areas. There's different resources you can gather. There's certain pods that you can break that'll have like a load of resources in, or sometimes it has loot in like this here. And some of them, they'll trigger big fights as well if you hit them, so you'll get attacked by a ton of monsters. But it's worth doing because it's got a lot of resources in there, and like I said, you can also get some loot as well. And this is when it triggered a wave of enemies that I didn't quite realise until I just about finished mining this thing. So yeah, I had to quickly back off and heal myself. Now, talk about healing yourself. In the bottom left-hand corner, you've got the number keys. Number 1 is like a heal, and it kind of refreshes after a certain amount of time. And then next to that, number 2 is a mine that you can place on the floor. Above that, you've got your weapon selection for each arm. You can cycle through the weapons on each arm using Q or E. And then you've got your health and your armor next to that. So it's pretty straightforward. And when you get more skills later in the game, you can add more to the kind of numbered skills at the bottom. So you've got a few empty spaces. And yeah, there's a few different resource nodes like this scattered around the map. So it's definitely worth having a search around and grabbing them, because it'll allow you to get a ton of resources pretty fast. And especially early on, that is really important, because the mines you build are kind of pretty slow. So it's worth doing this just to get yourself started. Of course, you're going to have to defend yourself against these waves with some of them. And like I mentioned, you'll also get some loot from doing this as well. This is where I got the chainsaw from, was hitting one of these. And yeah, you've got to be prepared for this, because you can get some big mobs that spawn to try and kill you just as soon as you touch them. And these guys are obviously ranged, and you get melee mobs. You get, this guy behind is like quite a big guy. Not the biggest though. You do get bigger mobs than this, bosses and stuff like that as well, which I didn't quite get to see in my my quick playthrough. Yeah, it's all about getting the resources and being able to build up your base, so you can basically start with is get information back to Earth, and then the storyline opens up from there. But yeah, definitely check out the map and look for nodes like this. Anyway guys, that's a quick look at the Riftbreaker. I think it's definitely worth checking out now with this latest update. It has a load of content, just to sink your teeth into if you've never played it before. And if you have played it before, I think it's probably worth coming back to because of all the additional stuff they've added. I've not had a go at the co-op yet, but it looks like it would be quite a lot of fun with a few, with 4 people. But yeah, if you like tower defense games, wave defense games, base building, and getting involved in the fighting yourself as well, yeah, it's a lot of fun and worth the look. Can't think of any real negatives about this one. It's a lot of fun. I had some performance issues, but that was about it. I guess maybe it might get a bit old the further you get into it, the more time you spend on it. But I guess that's the same with any kind of tower defense game. But it does seem to be enough depth to this with the massive research tree and all the different buildings you can build. It's going to give you a hell of a lot of time to play before you kind of get bored of it. If you do like what you've seen, please leave a like and comment as well. And obviously subscribe if you really want to. It all helps with the YouTube algorithm and so on these days. So, yeah. That would be great if you could, guys. So thanks a lot, and I'll see you all in the next video.